Aram on Everything podcast, emergency podcast. It is Friday, October 11th. Thank you for joining us. We've got a lot going down. Most notably, these fires taking place in the North San Fernando Valley have caused chaos, damage, even death, sadly, tragically. We're going to talk about something that's not nearly as important, but still important nonetheless for a lot of us. High school football situation with what's gone on because of these fires, and I will not wait any longer. I'll bring in LA Daily News Prep Sports editor Tarek Fattal. This is your area, man. This is your epicenter. Let's talk about it, man. A lot of cancellations, a lot of things going on here with because of these fires.
No doubt. Yeah. Thanks, Aram, for having me on. You know, not only is it my neck of the woods for coverage, but I was born and raised here in the San Fernando Valley. I was born and raised in Northridge, lived a long time in Granada Hills. Now my wife and I live in Encino, just a stone's throw away from Crespi. And, yeah, man, up north, the northern side of the valley, well, southern side too, but the northern side gets these really harsh winds, man. We call them the Santa Ana winds. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yep.
And we get brush fires like this all the time. And what makes the whole thing more ridiculous and scary is that when these winds are going on, the embers float. So yeah, you could have north side of the valley, a fire starts, and then like a couple hours later, boom, there's one all the way across the other side of the valley, and you're thinking, what the heck is going on? And it's because these winds make it really scary, which is a lot of the reason why class and school gets canceled. The air quality is really poor because of the wind, but also at any given moment, man, a tree could go up in flames, and that's not good. Right. If you've got teenagers walking around and your school goes on fire. So it's a lot more than just the air quality, man. It's really dangerous with the fires, and especially when it's 0% containment. I think they got it up to about 13 or 15% now. You just have to take caution. So no school today.
Right. So we are going to talk about something way less important than that, but like I said, important nonetheless. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. To obviously, there's a lot of people displaced. There sadly have been, people that have died, pets that have died, evacuations, traffic nightmares, financial loss. So we do not want to make light of that when we switch now to talking about high school football. But nonetheless, that's, your bread and butter as far as what you cover and a lot of what we do here. This is a fiasco, Tarek. There's been a lot of cancellations, and right at the top of the list was the Alemany and Loyola game. Not only was it canceled and originally moved, and I'm going to let you take the story from here. I guess it was postponed, delayed, moved. Now it's canceled entirely. Take it from there, dude. What happened? What's the timeline of what went down with this huge Mission League matchup that won't happen now?
So at the beginning of the day, I was actually on the phone with Ed Croson a lot from Chaminade. Hey, man, how are you guys going over to Amat tonight? What's the deal? And initially, he told me, yeah, we're going to play tonight. It all depends on the roads. It all depends on the freeway closures and what's open, and then we'll know around 1 o'clock. Well, he calls me around like 11 and goes, yeah, we're not playing. We're going to just make it on Saturday. And a lot of that is because, not necessarily because from West Hills, which is here in the valley, to where Bishop Amat is, isn't so much the case, but a lot of kids come from the north side of the valley to Chaminade, or they live up in Santa Clarita and you got to drive through the north side of the valley. So he was having a hard time even knowing if some of his players would even get to campus and get on the bus and get to the game. So it was like, you know what? Let's shut this thing down. We'll play tomorrow. So that was the first Mission League game that we thought, okay, not going to be played Friday night. It'll be played on Saturday. And it just seemed flawless. It seemed like, no problem. Hey, we're going to play this game come hell or high water. That was kind of the sense of urgency. Boom, Saturday night. I mean, that was all before noon. We're going to play Saturday night. Okay. So then I call Dave Urbach, the athletic director at Alemany. Hey, man, what's going on? And right off the bat is we're not playing, and Alemany's in Mission Hills. That is smack dab right next to Sylmar, a stone's throw away from Porter Ranch. I mean, you're talking right there in the north side of the valley. So they canceled school. I call Urbach. Urbach says, hey, man, we're trying to get this game scheduled. I think it's going to look like Monday. Saturday's out of the question. Loyola has a freshman retreat over the weekend, and our head coach is going out of town. So as of right now, it's been agreed that Saturday is not going to be the day. It's looking like Monday, 6 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, great. And he's the AD of the school. He's not going to lie to me. The guy wants to play the game just like anyone else. So I'm like, yeah, okay, great. So a couple hours goes by, and he's telling me, yeah, man, it's looking good, 6 o'clock. I call Casey, yeah, man, it's looking good, 6 o'clock. I'm like, okay, that's good for me. All right. So I'm putting it out there.
6 o'clock Monday.
Exactly, 6 o'clock Monday.
At Loyola.
Correct. They didn't want to do like a 3 o'clock game. They still wanted it to be a varsity experience, but, it's a school night. We don't want to make it 7. Hey, 6 o'clock's a good time. Let's roll it. So everything's on board. I'm hearing it's all good, and then things go south. As we saw Eric Sonheimer, by all means, reporting what he's hearing, and they're conflicting reports to what I'm putting out there. So everyone's all confused. So that's when I went to Twitter. I was too much to type. I just went with a video of myself just explaining the whole thing. And Dave Urbach called me back and said, yeah, man, they're thinking about doing a no contest, canceling the game. And from what I understand, the coaches, Casey could not talk more highly of Drew over at, I can't think of his last name right now, but the new Loyola coach. Yeah,
Drew Cassani. Yeah.
Thank you, Drew Cassani. How long they've known each other. I mean, he's a good dude. Cassani would play this game on asphalt if he could. That's just the kind of guy he is.
He is an absolute prep football legend in Southern California, Drew Cassani.
There you go.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but he played like a CIF championship game on a broken leg. That's how much of a sicko this guy is. He is an absolute legend, not only at Loyola, but in Southern California football lore. But yeah, go on.
So my point is, it's not surprising. Like, you could imagine this guy's like, yeah, where do we suit up and play? That's what Casey was telling me. So the ADs were on board, supposedly. And then, from what I understand, there might have been a meeting at Loyola, a meeting of minds, something going on, and it just was like higher-ups got involved, principals and presidents got involved, and yeah, they just said, hey, we can do it Monday. We don't want to do it Monday. We don't want our team playing 2 games in a week, so on and so forth. Yeah, we can't play the game. So that was it, man. Game canceled, no contest, and it leaves a real sour taste. I know, from the Alemany side at least, they're pretty mad and upset because they're started off to an 0-1 start after a pretty emotional loss. And I think they want to vent some of those frustrations. Loyola took care of a battered up Sarah. They're 1-0. So I think out there, people are thinking, well, hey, Loyola just kind of thought, well, hey, we can cancel the game and prepare for a banged up Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got no starting quarterback, no starting stud running back, and Anthony Spearman, he's out for the season. And they have to play. They're playing Sarah tonight. So you're talking about getting able to prepare for a Notre Dame team that is already banged up and didn't have the luxury of taking a week off. It just, I don't know, something about it seems not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to reset here, that is the voice of Tarek Fattal, LA Daily News prep sports editor. You can follow him on Twitter at Tarek_Fattal. That's at TAREK_FATTAL. And obviously read all his work at dailynews.com. You can go under the high school sports or the LA varsity section and you'll see it. Tarek, it's good you brought up the standings right now as of, going into this week's games in the Mission League. Amat, Loyola, Chaminade, all 1-0 atop the standings. Alemany, 0-1. Notre Dame, 0-1. Sarah, 0-1. I call bullshit on this myself here. I don't think Loyola wanted to play this game. I don't think Loyola liked the idea of a former a Loyola transfer, Miller Moss, who's the quarterback at Alemany, lighting them up for 7-8 touchdowns tonight potentially or Monday night. I don't think they wanted any piece of that, and it's better off for them to just have this thing be canceled, and it's going to cause a ton of chaos now in the Mission League standings. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I know you probably don't want to go as far and wild as I just did, but those are my own personal thoughts here. And I tell you what, that 2020 Alemany Loyola game next season, Miller Moss will still be there. Oh man, I think if Casey Clausen gets the chance to do some damage on Loyola in that game, he's going to do it.
I agree, and yeah, I spoke with Casey multiple times today. He's upset, man. He wants to play the game.
I'm sure the kids are too.
Yeah, and I would imagine the Loyola guys are too. You're talking about seniors that only get 10 games. And if you're lucky enough, you get to extend your season and play some playoff games. But these kids work hard, man, and it's unfortunate that they're kind of robbed of a game. I know it's kind of hard to say, and I'm sure there's people out there that are thinking, well, hey, man, it's a safety issue and 2 games in a week. Well, let me expand on that a little bit. I spoke to Tom Simmons today, and he said, hey, man, the rule is no more than 2 games in an 8-day period. So if that's the rule in place, and we're always talking about the safety of these young student athletes, that wouldn't be a rule if it was unsafe. That's kind of how I feel. So
right.
I'm not saying it's ideal, but it's possible to play 2 games in a week. The LA City section is doing it. Now, I'm not going to compare the levels, but you could argue that the lower the level, the more dangerous it is. And you got LA City section schools that are like, yeah, game on Monday. Yeah, game on Monday. Yeah, game on Monday. I mean, there's at least there's at least 10, maybe even a dozen games going on locally.
Yes.
North Hollywood, Sun Valley Poly, Chatsworth, Taft, right. Granada, Reseda. They're all playing on Monday.
Yeah, this is the only out-and-out cancellation that I've heard.
Yeah, there's a couple city section ones that canceled. And, again, it's one of those things where, like, city sections is different, man. LAUSD, they got to schedule buses, and there's more logistics. It's not like these private schools that can just do whatever they want. So I think there are some logistical issues with some of these city section cancellations. But I would say that this is, I haven't heard of many, Aram, basically. I agree with you. It's like all these schools are finding a way to play, when to play, and like I'm saying, the lower level guys are even like, yeah, we'll play on Monday to Friday. Whatever.
Tarek, this was set up. I mean, this original plan was they had, we're going to play it on Monday. I mean, exactly. This is what's so mind-blowing. You look on Cal Preps right now, it's slated for Monday, October 14th.
Yeah, and Max Preps.
And somewhere along the way, it gets changed to, we're not doing this at all. And I think that's what's confusing people. Not only that, you have all these things, conflicting things on Twitter, or confusion on Twitter. The dean of LA, Southern California Prep Sports Writers, writing about how, man, it's going to be a huge Monday thing. And now he's deleting tweets that said that, all eyes are going to be on Alemany Loyola on Monday. Those tweets are now gone, and he's saying, well, this is the right decision to make. I think people are very confused and quite frankly, a little pissed off about, this decision. And, I get it. Loyola wants to distance, the football program wants to distance itself from the decision itself. And, I have a hard time believing, what some higher up said, hey, no. You're not gonna play this game, but that is what they're telling you. I don't blame Alemany for being ticked off. I would be too. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, no, it really is, and I was looking forward to the game. I think I even shared with you something about it being on Monday night was kind of fun and different. I was going to go down to Loyola and cover the game, and hey, it could have been part of my lead. Hey, Monday Night Football, kind of thing, and.
Right.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen, and that's unfortunate for the kids. It's unfortunate for the 2 schools, and, hey, so, it is what it is. Is it the end of the world? Absolutely not. Are there bigger fish to fry? Yes, there are. But, just the way it went down, even a part of me feels like if they just would have came out and said, we're canceling the game, it would have been a little more acceptable. But to have it all in place and then for it to all come crashing down the way it did today, just weird.
Good God. Yeah, I just, boy, man, I've never. Now, tell everybody. I don't know if you know. I don't know if they've said. What does this do to the standings now? Does this count as a no contest, a loss, a nothing? I mean, are some of the Mission League schools going to be playing a full 5 league games, and others are not?
Yeah, it's a no contest. So at the end of the year, you will have a team that's 5-0, for example, and Loyola, Loyola and Alemany will have played 4 games. So you're going to have an imbalance is the right word, an imbalanced league schedule, standings, and here's I don't think this is going to happen with Loyola. I think they will stumble and lose a game or two, but let's just say, for example, let's say Amat goes 4-1, and Loyola goes. Okay, so that's what it is. Let's say Loyola pulls off a miracle. Well, no, because that would be head to head. I'm trying to think of the circumstance where it would be a point where one team has a loss but played 5 games, and Loyola would be 4-0 and having only played 4. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's where it would be like, what happens? One team played 5 but has a loss, and we're going to reward Loyola. Are they the league champ because they're 4-0, but they didn't play a game? What happens there? So I don't know the rules on that, and that's Urbach told me, the AD from Alemany, he told me that according to his conversations with the league commissioner, the league president, or what have you, that this is all like uncharted territory. They've never had to deal with an imbalanced league standing finalization or what have you. So they don't know what they're going to do, and as we know with the Division 1-2 whole thing, it's going to screw up a lot of berths to the playoffs. So there you have it.
I'll tell you what Loyola's looking at, okay? They're in Division 4. The rest of the league is D1-2. Alemany is D3. Loyola's in D4. They finish in the money in league. They go to those D4 playoffs. They're looking awfully good. If they can get into the D4 playoffs, which, is a big if, but if they can, they're in, and, they got a shot to make noise in that division. So it behooves Loyola to not play a game where they were, by most people's math, a 20-point underdog, not play this game and maybe sit out a loss. I know Drew Cassani would never look at it that way because I just don't think it's in his DNA, but maybe someone else at the school is doing it for him. I don't know. This is I've never seen anything like it myself. And I think the league's going to have a meeting and get all that figured out, which will be another story, another article for you entirely.
Right.
Yeah, man. This is boy, what a fiasco. And I can't believe CIF isn't in there. I mean, you talked to Tom Simmons from CIF. I don't know, did he say anything about maybe it wasn't at that point established that they weren't playing, but I mean, would CIF be pressuring these guys like, look, you got to do this?
I don't know. And that's another thing that I heard and learned was there's no bylaw by the Mission League book or what have you that like makes you play a game. The rule simply is if the two programs cannot agree, it's a no contest. That's like the rule. It's in there, but no one's ever not agreed. It's like everyone wants to play football, right? So this is probably why it's never come up, because you got generally 2 programs and 2 schools that know they're going to play football every week, okay, and then these unfortunate circumstances happen, and you're dealing with families and houses on fire, and just kind of a lot of everyone's scrambling, and now these kids have to deal with not playing a football game. So my point is that I think most of these people, these rules and bylaws don't even have anything to that effect because you just don't see it. But now we're going to have to, they'll have to put something in there. I don't know if they can make anyone play a football game, but man. So we're going to have 2 teams that have only played 4 games, and the rest of the league will have played 5.
Good God. All right. Well, thank you, Tarek. Thank you for clearing all this up. And I suggest people stay glued to Tarek's Twitter account because this story, I think it's only beginning. And like that discussion just showed with the actual Mission League standings, there's going to be more to this, and you can do that by following on Twitter at Tarek_Fattal, at TAREK_FATTAL. You really want to stay with this, everybody. Tarek, good luck to you, man. I know it's going to be a busy weekend for you.
Appreciate you having me on. Thanks, Aram.
Yes, sir. All right, that was Tarek Fattal, the LA Daily News Prep Sports editor. We have some other stuff we need to discuss here. Boy, this has been a very, very busy Friday night. We got news from Fred J. Robleo, the man in charge of the San Gabriel Valley Tribune, Pasadena Star News, Whittier Daily News, Prep Sports area. He's actually reporting something out of his area, so to speak, and that is that Chino Hills. Chino Hills is also part of this, but Upland has forfeited its games against Crenshaw and Damien due to ineligible players. He also has breaking news about Chino Hills head coach Chris Stevens' resignation and athletic director Anthony Sabara. That whole thing going down yesterday, but there's more news on it now. I'm going to see if I can get him on, but these are two interesting stories to follow here. Okay. All right. Okay, so I was able to get a hold of Fred J. Robleo. Freddie, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on my way to Arroyo High School as we speak.
Okay, Freddie's going to cover the Arroyo Alemany Mission Valley League showdown, but before he did that, he was very, very busy on Twitter and on the dailybulletin.com website. And, I guess, both these stories would be on the dailybulletin.com website. Wow, Freddie. First things first, Upland forfeits games to Crenshaw and Damien due to ineligible players. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so I'd heard that report. I got tipped off earlier today, and I followed up with Coach Thomas and talked to the athletic director, Mr. McNally, and they were able to confirm it. There was a player that they were tipped off on that the paperwork hadn't been submitted to CIF properly, and they discovered there were actually two players. So they went ahead today and self-reported it. They took responsibility. And it is just those two games against Crenshaw and against Damien. Now, those games were kind of a month apart. So I'm guessing these two players weren't impact players, Aram. Maybe they got in at the end of some games, and it's because they were in those games. They had to forfeit these games. But this is a game changer for Damien, obviously, because this makes them 2-0 in the baseline and gives them a real shot now of winning the league title. And for Upland, really, I was joking with them. Who cares? They're in Division 1-2. Everyone made the playoffs before the year even started. So for them, it's not much of a change. They could still win out and tie for the league title, assuming that Damien loses once. But, that was something that broke about mid-afternoon.
Wow. Okay. So, but Freddie, I want to say this, Damien is actually going to be 1-0 instead of 0-1 in league.
Right. They're going to be 1-0.
And then they have a game tonight against Chino Hills.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Okay, and Upland, there's three teams right now that are 1-0, or were 1-0 in the baseline. Etowanda, Rancho Cucamonga, Upland. Upland now is going to be 0-1. Damien is going to be in that three-way tie for first, which is hard to say when the teams are 1-0, but nonetheless, Damien technically 1-0 and in a three-way tie for first. And Freddie, that's huge for Damien's league title chances, because you now get a win, even albeit it wasn't on the field, over the league favorite. The rest of the league, is much more doable than Upland. I mean, Rancho will be tough, but heck, I mean, if they beat Chino Hills tonight, they're inside tracking.
Yeah, and what's funny about all this, Aram? Last week before they played Upland, I'm getting emails from all these Damien people saying, hey, ask CIF about Justin Flo. He was ejected in the last game of 2018 in the state final. He hasn't sat out his game. I mean, they were actually trying to get CIF to get something happening so Justin Flo wouldn't be there for their opener. Turns out they were able to win that game on a forfeit anyway. And Coach Mac Bechtel, he's going to ride with this. He's going to just say we're 2-0. Now they've got a shot at a league title. So this totally changes the narrative as far as they're concerned.
Wow. Okay. Now elsewhere, yeah, it really does. Elsewhere in the Baseline League, Chino Hills. Freddie, by the way, Upland, Chino Hills, these are not SGV Tribune schools, man. You're pulling double duty here.
Yeah, well, I work for the SCNG, Aram, the Southern California newspaper group. This is where you chip in, and we're so close to the IE that, Pete Marshall and Michelle Gardner, two greats that used to work with us aren't with us anymore. So, I'll jump on that whenever I can when I get tipped off, and I always try to keep my nose to what's going on in the area and just beyond.
Okay, well, here's the other big story, and you got on that yesterday, and you've got an update now. Chino Hills head coach Chris Stevens and athletic director Sam Sabara resigned yesterday. I want to thank my man Mike Victor out there for tweeting that out. He had that thing. He's not a reporter. He's just a local football guru. Having that out as 30 minutes ago, man. This just went down. They both resigned in front of the team. These two guys resign, and now you have some breaking news on this, and I'll just read the lead from your story that you just posted at dailybulletin.com. People can read it there. Chino Hills football coach Chris Stevens and athletic director Sam Sabara abruptly resigned Thursday following allegations of pranking and teasing that involved freshman students, according to Amy Purius, who is the director of communications for the Chino Valley Unified School District. The Chino Hills Police Department is aware of the allegations, according to Purius. So now, Freddie, we know the reason why.
Yeah, and they were short in the release of calling it hazing. Those were some of the reports, unconfirmed reports I was hearing, Aram, throughout the day that there was a hazing incident involving freshman students. The Chino Valley School District didn't want to call it that. They are referring to it as pranking and teasing at this point, but I also was aware that I believe a police report has been filed on this, and again, I don't know to the severity or what exactly the allegations were or how far it rose beyond just pranking and teasing, but I've heard a lot of different reports throughout the day, possibly, again, this is possibly, other things with coaches fighting, parents getting involved and stuff, and that the coach and athletic director had been talked to about some of these things that have gone into the program, and from what I understand, this was just kind of the last straw. And again, I don't know how serious it is, but anytime there's a police report that's been filed, and that's what I've heard through multiple people. Well, and they've said themselves that the police are aware. You're thinking it could be serious.
Benefit of the doubt, at least on my end, Freddie, to Chris Stevens. That guy is an upstanding guy, upstanding man, very, very good dude. Very hard for me to see. Granted, it is his program, but, I'm sure Chris Stevens. He was previously at Monrovia. He's a good man.
Yeah, he's a friend of Chris Ricks, who we know is a great guy too. Yeah. Again, I don't, everything that I know about him, he is a great guy. Situations like this, Aram, I like to be a little guarded until I know more information and know everything before I completely vouch for situations. But yeah, everything you hear about Chris Stevens, he's a great guy. He's a religious person.
Yeah, very.
And I've never heard a negative thing about him. And again, he might just be a fall guy for a situation that involves students. Right. We don't know. There's been issues with the Chino Hills school district with that school before. You don't have to go any further back than Matt Bechtel, who left there over odds, philosophical differences with the administration a few years ago. They let him go. And there's been other situations with coaches. You look at the basketball team and the way they've handled situations and their coaches.
Oh, yeah.
So, they have a lot to answer for, too, in terms of just, being held responsible and accountable.
Right. And, Freddie, before we let you go to your game, I know you were pretty active on Twitter, even going back and forth a little bit with the dean of SoCal Prep Sports Writers, Eric Sonheimer, about this Loyola Alemany now full-blown cancellation. You have any thoughts for people out there about that? I mean, boy, what a fiasco it's going to be in the Mission League now.
Yeah, and I don't know how this impacts the Mission League in terms of the end of the year, because you're going to have Alemany and Loyola now with a game short.
Right.
How does that impact the league standings? How do you determine a league champion when one team, still has a game to play? Those are questions I don't know, and I think we have to answer over the next week. I know one of the big issues on social media came up with, originally Loyola and Alemany had agreed to play the game Monday night at 6 p.m., according to Tarek Fattal.
Right.
Both head coaches, both athletic directors had agreed to play the game. And apparently it sounds like it was the higher-ups at Loyola who decided to pull the plug on that and said, we're not playing 2 games in 4 days, Monday, Thursday, or whatever it be. And automatically there were these big questions of, now it's safety issues and all of this stuff. And I read what Eric put out there, and I just kind of disagreed with him, especially on the part where, he says, no big-time schools are going to play a Monday through Friday with basically the risks involved and all that involved. And, you got, Mir and Burbank playing at Burroughs High. They're agreed to playing their game on Monday. It's not, I don't know how much of a risk or health issue it is, but I know damn well sure that teams in the Trinity League don't take any more risk than teams do in the San Gabriel Valley. So I took issue with Eric on that.
Great point. Great point.
So should teams play on Monday? That's a question really for the CIF Southern Section to answer to, whether there are real health factors there involved or danger issues involved for kids. But as of right now, you're allowed to do it. We see in the NFL they play Sunday to Thursday's games, and those guys hit a lot harder, Aram, and there's a lot more risk for injury there. Now, I realize these are kids, and that maybe I'm arguing apples and oranges, but when I see people arguing on there, and there's one person in particular arguing that, that any principal or teacher who lets kids play on a Monday or Thursday shouldn't be around kids. I took really exception to a comment like that, saying this about these educators who, spend their life around kids and care about kids. I'm sure if they thought there were big risk factors, they wouldn't let them play. But, I don't know that that's the case. And I've never seen any kind of factual stuff on that says it's so dangerous that you can't play.
Yeah, well, not to mention Sandy's previous tweets were like, wow, all eyes are going to be on Loyola Alemany on Monday night, and what a great big game this is going to be. All of a sudden, that switches to, as soon as Loyola pulls the plug on it, it switches to, this is the right decision, glad those, it's not right, they shouldn't play, wouldn't be safe, big-time football doesn't play, 2 games in 4 or 5 days. Hey, Freddie, we're all in the same league, right, in the Mission League. Why not just get Loyola and Alemany's next opponents maybe to say, hey, could you play us on Saturday instead of Friday? Loyola, Notre Dame would play on Saturday of next week, and because Loyola had a Monday game. Why not try that? I don't know if they did, but, why not try that? Move the following game from that Friday to Saturday. Just a thought.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And if I had more time to write, if there wasn't breaking news, those are some of the points I was going to bring up, in some of those follow tweets. Absolutely. Why couldn't they play on a Saturday and make things easier for everybody else? That's a total valid point. I don't know if they did, if they argued that. But look, at the end of the day, Aram, who stands to gain the most out of this? To me, it's Loyola. Yeah. Loyola gets to beat a Sarah team that is totally injured, they upset the first week. Now they won't have to play Alemany, and They have 2 weeks before they play Notre Dame. So part of me believes, down deep inside, that they're okay with this more than Alemany would be okay with this, who's coming off a loss against Bishop Amat and needs to beat that team to make this a horse race. I don't know what happens.
You're exactly right, Fred. That was what I said to Tarek Fattal earlier in the podcast. And also, don't forget, Loyola, and this is another thing I said, Loyola's in D4 now. They just finish in the money. Everyone knows this in the Mission League and get into those D4 playoffs. I'm sure they're feeling like they got a good shot in there. So the idea is just to get in. So I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I've never seen a situation like this before, but whatever. High school football never ceases to amaze you.
Aram, I've been talking to him. Now I'm lost in the streets of Alemany looking for a Royal High School. And I know it's around the corner. And I'm on Emory Street. Okay, this is great. I'll find it.
Yeah, Freddie, just, be by the airport, and wherever you see those little planes, those little Cessnas taking off, you're close to a Royal.
Yeah, I'm about to find it. All right. Hey,
all right, buddy. Well, thanks, man.
Crazy afternoon. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Freddie. Okay, that was Fred J. Robledo. He's on his way to cover a game tonight, sharing his thoughts about this situation. And one last thing I wanted to cover here. Earlier today, I tweeted I have a source, a local high school football coach, who obviously will go unnamed, and other people that I've talked to as well, saying that Chad Johnson, the Mission Viejo head coach, who threatened to do so via his tweets last month, is now, as this guy put it, in CIF witness protection, and maybe sounding off about the practices of the Trinity League, maybe specifically St. John Bosco, where he was a former coach. Just to remind you guys, Johnson tweeted. The tweet has now since been deleted. Back on September 13th at 12:38 a.m. By the way, remember what they say: nothing good happens after midnight. Stay off social media. Nonetheless, he tweeted that at 12:38 a.m. on September 13th. It's crazy how people you thought were close to you aren't really. I have been silent for too long. CIF Southern Section, I am ready to go on the record when you are. I am done protecting people that could care less about me. So if you're just connecting the dots, again, I said this is a rumor, but if you're just connecting the dots, it makes sense. It makes sense that maybe he's in contact with CIF. Again, it's just a rumor. We'll see what comes out of it. I don't know what to tell you. Stay tuned for that. I got to say this. If anything's ever going to change in the Trinity League, if the Mater Days and the St. John Boscos and their shady business practices are ever going to get called out or changed, it's very obvious just from, the way CIF has put it or the way things are, that it's not going to come from this podcast, and it's not going to come from, a parent or a rival coach putting something out there. It's going to be just like how the mob was. You're going to need to get cooperating witnesses. You're going to need someone to turn on those programs and say, hey, look, here's what we've been doing. Here's what we were doing. And maybe that's the only way to do it. But, don't hold your breath for that one either. Best solution, just get Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, the hell out of the Southern Section. Put them in a national division. Let them go have fun with IMG Academy and the rest. Anyways, that's the Aram on Everything podcast, the emergency podcast. I appreciate you guys listening. Stay tuned on Twitter, to Fred's Twitter account, to Tarek's Twitter account. You will definitely be seeing updates on a lot of these stories. Thank you for listening.